The hum of the spaceship's engine was a constant companion to Dr. Elijah Reed, one of Earth's foremost exobiologists, as he made his final approach to the small, lush planet known in official documents as XJ-239. This unassuming name belied its breathtaking beauty, which was now visible through the shuttle's panoramic windows. The planet was swathed in rich greens and deep blues, with swirling clouds casting roaming shadows over its vast oceans and dense forests. As the shuttle touched down gently on a flat expanse near one of the larger forests, Elijah's heart raced with anticipation. This was his first mission as the lead scientist, and the potential for discovering new life forms was electrifying. Little did he know, his encounter today would be far from what any briefing could have prepared him for. Once the shuttle systems confirmed the atmosphere was breathable, Elijah didn't hesitate. He grabbed his field pack, equipped with various scientific instruments, and stepped out onto the alien soil. The air was crisp, filled with a sweet, floral scent that reminded him of lavender. The gravity, slightly lower than Earth's, gave his steps an airy, buoyant quality. Elijah decided to explore the edge of the forest, where the scouting drones had detected movement indicative of life. As he walked, he noted the strange, almost musical sounds that came from the underbrush. Every so often, he would stop to take samples of the soil, flora, and even the air, recording everything in his digital journal. It was when he reached a particularly dense part of the forest that he first saw her. She was unlike any creature he had encountered in his studies, approximately human in shape, but her skin was a luminescent pale blue, with intricate silver markings that traced down her arms and legs. Her eyes, large and expressive, were a vibrant violet, and they widened in sheer astonishment as she caught sight of Elijah. Frozen in place, Elijah watched as she tilted her head, studying him with a curious intensity. She spoke then, her voice melodic yet foreign, tones rising and falling in a language he couldn't begin to understand. Zala Tunarki. Elijah blinked. He tapped the translator device pinned to his chest, hoping it would bridge the gap between them. After a moment, the device whirred, and her sentence echoed in English. "Who are you?" "I'm Dr. Elijah Reed from Earth," he responded, marveling as his own words were converted into her language. Her eyes scanned him from head to toe, a puzzled look forming on her face as they fixed on his lower body. With an innocence and frankness that only a being from another world could muster, she uttered the next sentence that Elijah's translator rendered as, "Human, what is between your legs?" Elijah choked, a blush creeping up his neck. This was not the scientific exchange he had anticipated, yet remembering his training on interstellar diplomacy and the importance of cultural sensitivity, he managed a composed reply. "It's called a spacesuit. Designed to protect me from unfamiliar environments," he explained, deliberately misunderstanding her question to keep the conversation appropriate. She nodded slowly, seemingly accepting his explanation. Her own attire, or lack thereof, consisted merely of what appeared to be light, natural armor along her torso and limbs, blending seamlessly with her skin. "What brings you here?" she continued, her voice rich with curiosity. Elijah cleared his throat, redirecting the conversation to his scientific mission. "I am here to learn about your planet and its inhabitants, to share knowledge between our peoples." Her smile was radiant, lighting up her already luminous face. "Then welcome, Elijah of Earth. My name is Mira, and I am here to learn from you as well." As they walked together, deeper into the woods, Elijah couldn't help but feel that this first contact, awkward moments aside, was the beginning of something extraordinary. He was about to step into a world of wonders and mysteries, guided by a being as enigmatic as the planet itself. As the underbrush gave way to a clearing, Elijah and Mira found themselves at the edge of a tranquil lake. Its surface mirrored the cerulean sky above, unmarred by even the slightest ripple, suggesting that no wind ever stirred in this secluded part of the planet. Mira gestured towards the lake with a sense of pride. "This is Miralith, the silent water," she explained, her voice lowering to match the serenity of the surroundings. Elijah unpacked a small device from his field kit, a spherical drone that began whirring softly as it powered up. "I'd like to collect some data on the water if that's okay with you," he said, seeking her consent. Mira nodded, watching with interest as the drone dipped towards the lake, skimming the surface before submerging. Elijah monitored the readings on his handheld screen, noting the water's unique properties. It was rich in minerals unknown on Earth, yet clear of any biological contaminants. "It's almost too pristine," Elijah mused aloud. "No algae, no microorganisms, nothing." Mira's eyes sparkled with a knowing light. "Miralith is not just water, it is a living entity, protected and preserved by our people." Fascinated, Elijah asked, "How does it sustain itself? Every body of water on Earth supports life one way or another. Our legends say Miralith is the lifeblood of our planet, cleansing itself by a cycle we do not fully understand. It connects all living things on XJ 239. Their conversation was suddenly interrupted by a low pulsating hum that seemed to emanate from the ground itself. Mira's expression shifted to one of concern. "We need to move away from here," she urged, her tone urgent. Before Elijah could respond, the ground beneath them vibrated, and several plants around the lake's edge began to emit a bright, phosphorescent glow. Mira took Elijah's arm and pulled him back towards the forest. As they retreated, Elijah looked back to see the water bubbling as if boiling, though his sensors showed no increase in temperature. "Back under the cover of the trees," Mira explained. "Miralith reacts to the presence of unfamiliar energy. Your drone must have triggered a defense mechanism." Elijah felt a pang of guilt. "I didn't mean to cause any harm." "It is not your fault," Mira reassured him. "You did not know, and Miralith is not harmed. It is merely protective." They continued deeper into the forest, and the atmosphere grew denser with vibrant life. The vegetation here was unlike anything Elijah had ever studied. Plants with leaves that shimmered with metallic hues, and flowers that seemed to look back at him with curious eye-like patterns. As they walked, Mira shared stories of her people, the Myrans, who had evolved in harmony with their planet's unique environment. She spoke of ancient technologies, integrated with the very flora and fauna around them, and Elijah listened, spellbound by the possibilities. "This integration, is it what allows you to communicate with the planet?" Elijah asked, eager to understand. "Yes, in a way," Mira nodded. "Our technology does not dominate the landscape. It coexists with it. We grow our circuits from the minerals in the soil and the fibers of plants. Our buildings are alive, part of the ecosystem." The concept challenged every engineering principle Elijah knew, pushing the boundaries of his understanding of technology and nature. As the shadows lengthened and the alien sun dipped below the horizon, they reached a structure that seemed to grow out of the ground itself, its walls pulsating with soft, organic light. "This is my home," Mira said, gesturing for him to enter. "Let's continue our discussion inside." Elijah stepped into the living building, his mind racing with thoughts of the day's revelations. Here, on this distant planet, science intertwined with nature in ways he could never have imagined, and each moment was a revelation of the possible. Inside Mira's home, the air was filled with a faint, sweet fragrance, reminiscent of the undergrowth after a rainstorm on Earth. The walls, bioluminescent and semi-transparent, pulsed gently, casting a calming light that shifted subtly in color and intensity. Elijah followed Mira through a series of naturally arching corridors into a central living area where the furniture seemed to have grown organically from the floor itself. Mira gestured to a smooth, contoured bench. "Please sit. You must be weary from our walk." As Elijah settled onto the surprisingly comfortable structure, Mira activated a panel on the wall that looked like a cluster of living vines. The vines lit up, and a holographic display emerged from the center of the room, showing various aspects of the planet's biosphere in vivid detail. "This is how we monitor the health of our ecosystem," Mira explained. "Each section you see here represents a different bioregion of XJ 239. We can detect even the slightest changes in the biosphere's balance." Elijah, captivated, moved closer to the display. "It's incredible. You've achieved a level of symbiosis with your planet that we can only dream of on Earth." "Yes, but it comes with great responsibility." Mira said, her voice tinged with seriousness. We must remain ever vigilant, as even small actions can ripple across the entire system. As they discussed the principles of her people's technology, a sudden alert flashed across the holographic display. A section of the forest, not far from where they had been earlier, was showing signs of distress. Mira's expression grew concerned. We should investigate this, she said decisively. It could be nothing, but we cannot take chances. Grabbing a portable version of the vine-like panel, Mira led Elijah back into the twilight of the alien world. As they approached the distressed area, Elijah noticed that the vegetation was wilted, and the ground was cracked and dry, as if the life had been drained out of it. This isn't natural, Mira murmured, kneeling to examine the soil. Something has disrupted the underground nutrient networks. Using his own instruments, Elijah helped her take readings, trying to identify any foreign elements or anomalies. After several minutes of analysis, he found traces of a synthetic compound, an herbicide, most likely from Earth, probably residual contamination from his own equipment. I can't believe it, Elijah stammered, guilt washing over him. It must have been on my gear. I didn't even consider the contamination protocols thoroughly. Mira placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. We can fix this. Let's focus on that. Working together, they applied a neutralizing agent from Mira's kit to the affected area. Slowly, the natural balance began to restore itself, the plants perking up and the soil regaining its moisture. As they worked, Mira explained more about the planet's interconnected life systems. Our planet is resilient but delicate. It evolves and adapts, but we must help it along when we cause disruptions. By the time they finished, the stars were a brilliant tapestry above, shining more brightly than any night sky Elijah had ever seen on Earth. They sat on the ground, watching as life returned to the damaged patch of forest. Your people will need to be careful, Mira said, her tone gentle but firm. The arrival of humans could bring many changes, not all of which our planet is prepared for. Elijah nodded, the weight of her words sinking in. We'll learn from this, he promised. I'll make sure of it. As they walked back to Mira's home, the first hints of dawn began to color the horizon, the sky turning from black to a deep indigo. The planet was forgiving, Elijah thought, but he knew the path ahead would require careful, considerate steps, both for his sake and for the sake of this new world that had welcomed him so openly. The next morning, Elijah awoke to the soft rustling of the living walls, which seemed to respond to the sunlight filtering through them. Mira was already up, tending to a series of intricate vine-like devices spread across a table made of woven roots. These devices hummed with a quiet energy, their surfaces pulsing in sync with the rhythm of the planet. Good morning, Mira greeted him without looking up, her focus on the task at hand. I've been analyzing the data we gathered last night. There's something unusual I need to show you. Elijah joined her, peering over her shoulder. The display showed a series of interconnected nodes representing the planet's biosphere, but one node was flickering erratically. This is near the southern hemisphere, she explained. It's not just a small disturbance. This is something far more significant. The data indicated a rapid decline in the area's ecological health, far more severe than the minor disruption they had dealt with before. It was as if the life force of the region was being drained at an alarming rate. I've never seen anything like this, Elijah admitted, his mind racing with possibilities. Could it be natural or... Mira shook her head. No. This is something external, something that shouldn't be here. They quickly prepared for departure, gathering equipment to investigate the source of the disturbance. As they traveled southward, the terrain became increasingly rugged, the lush greenery giving way to rocky outcrops and steep cliffs. The air grew cooler, and the sounds of life that had filled the forest began to fade, replaced by an eerie silence. When they reached the site, it was worse than they had imagined. The land was barren, the soil cracked and lifeless. The trees were skeletal, their branches twisted and blackened. In the center of this devastation was a large cylindrical object, metallic with markings that Elijah instantly recognized. It's human-made, he muttered, horrified. The object bore the insignia of an Earth corporation known for its aggressive terraforming projects. This must have been left behind from a previous mission, something they didn't disclose. Mira's face was a mask of concern. This device is draining the life from the land, converting it into raw energy. It's a terraformer's tool, but it's operating uncontrollably. Elijah examined the device closely, finding the control panel partially buried beneath the earth. It was damaged, likely in the landing process, causing it to malfunction. We need to shut this down, fast! Together they worked to dismantle the device, carefully avoiding triggering any further damage to the environment. Elijah used his knowledge of human technology to bypass the corrupted systems, while Mira applied her understanding of the planet's energy networks to safely redirect the flow of power. After what felt like hours, the device powered down with a low whine, the lights on its surface flickering out. Immediately, the land around them seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, the oppressive atmosphere lifting slightly. We've stopped it, but the damage is extensive, Mira said, surveying the barren landscape. This area may take centuries to heal. Elijah clenched his fists in frustration. We should have known about this. These devices were supposed to be regulated, their use restricted. This could set back relations between our peoples by years. Mira placed a hand on his arm, her voice calm yet firm. It's not too late. We've taken the first step by stopping this, and now we must ensure it doesn't happen again. Your people need to understand the consequences of their actions here. Elijah nodded, determination hardening his resolve. I'll make sure this is reported, that we change our approach. We can't afford to make these mistakes. As they left the devastated area behind, Elijah couldn't shake the image of the barren land from his mind. The weight of responsibility hung heavily on his shoulders, knowing that the future of this planet depended on the choices he and his people would make from this moment on. The next few days were a blur of activity. Elijah and Mira worked tirelessly, scanning the planet for any more rogue devices. Every sweep came back clean, but the damage already done weighed heavily on both of them. They had managed to avert disaster, but the scars left behind were a stark reminder of the fragility of their world's future together. One evening, while analyzing data in silence, Mira suddenly looked up, her violet eyes meeting Elijah's. There's something I haven't told you. Our planet has a consciousness, a presence that we call the heart. It's ancient, and it guides us in ways we don't fully understand. It's aware of you, of your people. Elijah felt a chill. What does it think of us? Mira hesitated, then spoke softly. It's wary. It senses potential but also danger. The heart's wisdom is deep, but it can't predict everything. It's waiting, watching how you will act now that you know the truth. Elijah absorbed her words, understanding the gravity of what she was saying. We have to show the heart that we can be trusted, that we can coexist without harm. Mira nodded. There's one way to begin. A ceremony, a binding of sorts, where you offer something of yourself to the planet. It's a gesture, but a powerful one. Without hesitation, Elijah agreed. The next day they trekked to a secluded grove, the air humming with unseen energy. At the center stood a massive tree, its bark shimmering with the same light that filled Mira's home. Mira handed Elijah a small blade, its edge glowing faintly. A drop of your blood, given willingly. It's symbolic, a sign of respect and commitment. Elijah made a small cut on his palm, letting a single drop fall onto the tree's roots. The ground trembled gently as if the planet itself was acknowledging his act. For a moment, everything was still. Then the tree pulsed, its light intensifying briefly before fading back to its gentle glow. Mira smiled softly. The heart accepts your offering. It's a start. Elijah felt a deep sense of connection, not just with the planet, but with everything it represented. He knew there was much more to do, but for the first time he felt a glimmer of hope, a belief that they could find a way forward, together. As the days passed, the planet began to reveal its secrets to Elijah in ways he hadn't anticipated. The heart of the planet, now more attuned to his presence, seemed to guide him through Mira. They visited ancient sites where the very ground seemed to pulse with life, and Elijah could feel the subtle hum of the planet's consciousness, a constant reminder of the bond he had formed. Mira showed him how her people had learned to live in harmony with this consciousness, how their technology and culture were not just sustainable but symbiotic with the planet. Elijah absorbed it all, the understanding deepening with every step they took together. One morning, as they stood atop a cliff overlooking a vast, shimmering valley, Elijah turned to Mira, his voice filled with a quiet determination. "I need to return to Earth. I have to ensure that what we've done here isn't just a gesture. My people need to understand, to change. But I'll come back, and I'll bring others who can learn." Mira's expression was unreadable, but there was a softness in her eyes. "The heart will be waiting. It's seen your intent, and it's hopeful. But remember, Elijah, the bond you've created is not just a connection. It's a promise." Elijah nodded, fully aware of the weight of those words. "I won't forget. I'll make sure they don't either." The farewell was brief, but not without emotion. As Elijah boarded his shuttle, he took one last look at Mira standing on the edge of the forest, her figure illuminated by the rising sun. The planet's atmosphere, rich with colors and life, seemed to embrace her. As the shuttle ascended, the planet below grew smaller, its beauty etched into Elijah's memory. He knew the challenges ahead were immense, that convincing humanity to respect and protect this world would not be easy. But he also knew that the heart of the planet was with him, a silent ally in the struggle to come. Elijah's mission had changed. It was no longer just about exploration or discovery. It was about preservation, respect, and the promise of a shared future. And with that thought, as he set a course for Earth, Elijah felt a sense of purpose stronger than anything he had known before. Mira watched the shuttle disappear into the sky, feeling the gentle pulse of the heart resonating through her. She knew this was only the beginning, but it was a beginning filled with hope, and that was enough for now.